the concept was alive and well in my mind. So there was no shop space. It was really just I was roasting. I had the website and was providing coffee via mail to folks.
Why did you choose Columbia?
Hold on. Let's see the audio's not.
Do you want my headphones?
No, there's just
Oh no, we just want to make sure.
there's no like
Neither.
yeah. So I don't know if it's actually happening. Okay, yeah. Alright. Okay.
We'll do it. I just want to play back. Just gosh. So why did you choose Columbia to open up like a full-time shop here versus any other city?
Well, Columbia has a lot going for it. I love Columbia. But the thing that brought us originally to Columbia was my wife works for the university, so she's a professor of women's and gender studies. So it was mainly that she got an offer to come here, and we kind of came and looked, but we had been looking for a long time for a town that was going to have a permanent professor spot for her, and also a town that had a lot of the components that Columbia really has. It's like an active community that would support local businesses, a cool little downtown area, like a college town, but not some place that was super huge. We've lived in New York, we've lived in DC, so we didn't really want to go to like Chicago or those sorts of places. We wanted to go to a place that was a little bit smaller, a little bit more friendly, a little bit more intimate, with a little bit slower pace. So Columbia really just kind of fit that bill. It's big enough to have its own identity and its own things going on, but it's also small enough to feel like a small town in a lot of ways, and it has a very, very active local community that's gonna resonate. Things like fair trade organic coffee really would resonate with the folks here, whereas if you went to certain other places, maybe not so much. So we were looking for a place just like this for a very long time, and when we came here, we were kind of pinching ourselves because it was everything that we were looking for, and that in our minds and on paper that would be perfect. So it was just really good luck, good timing.
Has fair trade always been a part of like since you were roasting in like New York and stuff?
Yeah, I really feel strongly about the fair trade movement, and it's either fair trade or direct trade. There is a difference there, but basically, conceptually, what I feel strongly about is making sure that the people that are growing and picking and drying and packaging up these beans, I feel that they should be fairly compensated, and if they're not going to continue to grow coffee. They can grow more lucrative crops, they can grow other things. So if you want to preserve really truly specialty coffee that is fantastic, that's only available in a specific region, you need to make sure that all the people in that chain are cared for. And so it's something that I've really kind of felt strongly about from the beginning. I do make very, very rare exceptions, like we carry a Kenya from time to time. It's not fair trade, not because I don't want Kenya fair trade beans, but because Kenya as a country doesn't have a fair trade certification process. So there's just no such thing as a fair trade Kenya. So in that case, I've made sure that I got the Kenya beans from the absolute best and most ethical place that I possibly could. And did my due diligence as far as that goes. And so that's I bend the rule a little bit for that. It's really, as much as I believe in the principles of these things, it's really all about the coffee. So I could have a fair trade certified coffee that's mediocre, but I wouldn't be into that either. I want to have the best coffees that I can find that also happen to be ethically sourced and good, good for the heart, good for the soul.
Because with fair trade, obviously you can't get away with cheap, not as cheap labor, and there's more ethics to it. Does that end up reflecting in your prices versus
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you think it's detriments people away, or are they willing to pay the price for the?
I think that customers are usually willing to pay for something if they understand why it costs a little bit more. It's so we're never going to be the cheapest cup of coffee in town or the cheapest bag.
You end up.
I saw this space a couple of months before I decided on it, and at first I kind of thought that it might be too small, and it was kind of tucked away, and there was all the reasons why not to take it. But I'm really kind of friendly with the people that own Root Cellar, and that's where I get my milk for the most part. And so I've had a good partnership with them, and I thought the downtown area. Everybody knows 9th Street, everybody knows Broadway. For financial reasons, it would be really tough to get a storefront there with no reputation and no, kind of proven track record. So I knew that I was going to be a little bit off the beaten path, but I didn't want to be so far out of town that people would have to kind of take a hike to some industrial park somewhere. I just felt like I really wanted to be downtown, and so this place, it just felt right. You know what I mean? It's like I really like all the other little local artists. I like the fact that we're attached to Artlandish. I like the fact that they have live music here from time to time in these spaces, and I feel like downtown is kind of growing in this direction. Like Logboat and Berlin and Mojo's and Pizza Tree, which is now looking for a new location. Like I just felt like the inertia and the momentum from downtown is kind of growing in this direction. And so I'm hoping that we're in the right spot at the right time, because you know we've had a pretty positive reaction from most folks.
And you think like, because you mentioned everything is moving kind of, it used to be like downtown was like southern, it's moving towards like northern part of downtown. Do you think that gives you an advantage? Because like you walk downtown, you can look across the street and you can see Lakota Coffee and Caldi's like from each other's doorsteps. How do you think like your location plays into versus all the other shops downtown?
You know, I think that people are creatures of habit, but they also really kind of like to explore and find that new kind of really cool place that not everybody else knows about, and I feel like we're that place. We definitely have regulars that are very passionate and they come in literally every day, but there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I never knew this was back here, and they'll just kind of either through Artlandish or just walking around, they'll kind of find us in that way, and I think that people really cherish the fact that they know something that's kind of ahead of the curve, or that they know something that isn't quite mainstream yet. So I'm hoping that people kind of latch onto that and continue to come here and for that reason. I mean, as well as the coffee, of course. You know?
I mean, I like when we were here earlier and you can like look out, it's a calm feel. Do you want to get them here, or do you want to do an action?
Yeah, we can do some actions. Is that all?
Or well, no, I mean I have more questions, but I don't know if you wanted them all, like from this
Might as
position.
well while we can.
Okay, yeah. If you don't mind answering a couple more, I don't know if you wanted to do like if you had something you needed to do sometimes. And on your like, you named it Fretboard Coffee for a reason.
Right.
What part does music have in like the store's like atmosphere, and like what part does music play in it?
So music, I think a couple of things. First of all, music is really important to me. I'm a musician. I play bass and I also play guitar. My wife plays. We were in a band together for years and years and played in New York and all around and stuff. So for us, it was really all about trying to create a music and coffee kind of together in one space and have that be a harmonious union. So that was kind of like the original brainchild. But the more that we thought about it, and the more that we kind of tried all these different coffees from all these different parts of the world and everything else, I felt like we kept coming back to the same descriptions or the same terms in terms of flavor. So like when you describe wine or beer, or in this case coffee, we found that we kept coming back to music in the way we describe it. So, you know, it's all fine and well if you're like a wine sommelier and you're saying, well, this has notes of grapeseed and, you know, cinnamon and hints of nutmeg, whatever, but like not everybody gets that. And not everybody necessarily wants to delve into it on that level. So I feel like music is a way of describing and you know, experiencing flavor that really everybody gets. That you don't have to be a complete and total wine or coffee, you know, nerd to be able to get that. Like you can talk about like this coffee has a really pronounced, you know, bass, or like the high notes are really singing in this one, and you know, so we found that like not only do we love music and want music to be a part of the shop, but we also felt like music was the way that we were describing things a lot of the time, and so we felt like, well, that's kind of a cool thing. And so we also want to have live music in the space. We're working on the space next door, and we're going to be about doubling in size, and that'll open it up for us to be able to do more things like open mic nights and, you know, host musicians and singer-songwriters and things like that. So we hope very soon it'll be a very, you know, actual union of music and coffee. We're also always listening to music in the shop, and there's a little card that we put in each of the bags that say what we were listening to while we were creating the coffee and bagging it and roasting it. So we've tried to keep music and coffee as really the two central themes. So taste, what and how we do things, as well as, you know, just local artists and stuff. So that's kind of the long answer, but
No, I appreciate it. It was full